Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Yep, I know it's been a while, but all the same, it's good to be back. And in this video we're basically going to be talking about how to create backgrounds for your animations. So basically I'm going to be talking about three main ways or methods that you can use to create your backgrounds. Now the first method that you can use is to draw everything yourself. And this is kind of self-explanatory because you're literally going to draw everything according to how you want it. Now this is the most efficient way to create backgrounds because depending on exactly how you intend to make your animation, you get to create those backgrounds the way that will best suit that kind of animation you're making. For example, if you need to create the objects in the environment in layers, that's easy because you're literally doing it from scratch, so you decide to do them in layers. So basically that's it for the first one. And the second is to edit photos. Basically in this method you're going to be manipulating photos to kind of look like a two-dimensional environment for your 2D animation project. And this one is actually very helpful if you have an idea of what kind of environment you want. For example, if you want it to be some kind of forest scene, you can go into some woods or something, take the pictures yourself, or you can search for images online and then use them to create your images. So this is basically going to be more of photo manipulation to get the kind of effect you want, and maybe cropping some objects and making them into new layers so that they will be overlapping other stuff. I think I'll get to explain that later as we talk about it into detail. Now the third method is generating the images with AI. Now we know AI has become very popular and it's become easier and easier to use. So with a few words you're going to be able to generate backgrounds that suit your animation the most. And yeah, it makes works kind of easier, just that you kind of have to, you're only going to get a flat image. This means you're going to have to still manipulate it. So it's like a mixture of generating it with AI plus editing the photos. That's if you need to. Okay, so let's go on to start how to create everything by yourself. That's the first method. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new document. So when you're creating everything yourself, I'd like you to understand one thing. The most important thing in your background is that it's supposed to be bigger than the aspect ratio you'll be using for the actual animation, or exactly the aspect ratio. Bigger in what sense? I mean, like in most animations, it's supposed to be 16 by 9, and 16 by 9 is basically what we see on TV screens, the same kind of ratio of the length and then the width of the screen. So you come to film and video when you're creating a new document. Don't choose any of these others because they are mostly A4 is typically the bond paper that we use for printing, which is not 16 by 9 exactly. It's closer to 4 by 3. Art and illustration will give you poster sizes, which are also not exactly what we want. Web will give you more about web pages and stuff. Mobile, yeah, this is more for short content, short form video content, which is not what we're trying to do. We are trying to make a film for TV production, and film and video is where you can get all of that. So now when they say 16 by 9, it's not necessarily like the exact numbers that you're going to see over here. It's supposed to be 16 and 9. It actually means that the ratio is 16 by 9. Basically, if you divide all these numbers by 120, I think, you're supposed to get 16 and 9 respectively. The same for this one too. 1280 times 720 pixels, which is 720p, is actually still 16 by 9, just that the resolution is kind of lower than this one. So this is HD and this is full HD. So it's more preferable to use full HD or even 4K if you want to. Just make sure the figures over there are in the correct ratio, which is 16:9. So I'd like you to go ahead and create a document with the full HD, the first one, 1920 by 1080p. So go to create, it opens up. And now, as you can see, Photoshop knows you're trying to work for TV screens, or let me say it's a film that will be put on TV. So it's giving you these guides. Now, these guides are basically called this space is called the safe area. The little space in between the guides is what we call the safe area. Why is it called the safe area? I think as an animator, you should know this by now. The safe area is basically where everything is more likely to show on screen. If you have important objects outside the safe area, there's a possibility that depending on the kind of TV is going to be shown on, you might not see those objects. So if you're trying to show your main character walking on a deserted island, if you bring him to this side, there's a possibility that a certain type of TV or screen display will not show this side of the screen. There's also another possibility that a certain type of display will not show if you draw them above this side. And it might cut off some important things. So basically all I'm saying is just keep the most important things in the center, in the smaller box. Now most people make a mistake and try to put the whole work in here. But that doesn't make sense. You have to actually work everywhere, just at the most important elements in the work. The subject in the frame and the things you'll be interacting with should be found in here. Alright, so now, just like I was saying, when you're doing it yourself, you get to do everything in layers according to how you want it. So my first example, I'm going to start with maybe the top of a cliff or something. So I'm going to create my sky, blue sky, and I'm going to create well, I can call it sky so that I don't forget what kind of layer it is. And I'm going to call this land, because this layer is going to be only the ground that the character will be walking on. Let me choose a brown color, and I can select this whole area and fill it. Alright, so I have my ground. I'm going to try to add some few details here to make it look a bit more representative of what I want to do. Alright, I think this is enough, and I'm going to add some grass to it. I personally don't want to put the grass on a different layer because the grass is literally going to be it's going to be stuck to the surface of the soil, of the ground. So I'm just gonna do some few grass textures onto it. It doesn't have to be very detailed in my case because I'm not interested in doing any detailed work here. But it depends on the kind of work you're doing. If you're supposed to create a detailed artwork because it demands to be detailed, then that's fine. It's not so bad. Alright, so as you can see, this is separate from the sky. So this helps me to rearrange them when I'm going to Adobe Animate. So let's also add some other stuff, maybe a tree or something. So let's say my main focus would be the tree, a tree on top of the cliff. Choose a color for the tree bark. It's too brown. Let me make it a bit gray. Yes, something like this will do. Let me move these down a bit. Alright, so as you can see, I've brought everything down so that they appear within the safe area. This way I'm very sure that if there's a screen that's going to cut these sides off, the tree doesn't get cut off. And if it's going to cut the top off, the tree doesn't get cut off, which is very good, very advantageous to me. Alright, so right now you see we have the tree on a different layer, the land on a different layer, the sky on a different layer. So if my character is supposed to, let's say, be hiding behind the tree, when I'm animating the character in Adobe Animate, I'm going to animate him on a layer that is below the tree. This is the trees layer. This is the land layer. Now this layer that I created is supposed to be for the character. Let me name that CH. So this way, when I draw the character here, it's going to look like the tree is overlapping him. So when I turn off the tree, you see the full figure. When I turn it on, it's like he's behind it. But as I animate the character, you can see he's coming behind and away from the tree. It's like they're being placed on top of each other according to how you arrange them. So if you bring the tree behind under the character layer, the character is going to overlap the tree. Do you get it? I'm sure maybe, but I'm sure this kind of makes sense well enough. So basically the only limitation for this method is whether you can or cannot draw well enough. Well, it's very efficient because if you do it yourself, you get to decide exactly how it should be. That way, everything you do is gonna just end up the way you planned it from the beginning. So, yeah. So that's it for how to draw everything yourself in terms of making backgrounds for animations. And in the next video, I'll be talking about the second part, which is how to edit photos to be used for 2D animations. 2D animation backgrounds, exactly. Alright, so that's it for creating the background by drawing everything yourself. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about how to edit the photos that you take or you download to be used for 2D animation backgrounds. So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.